Devil May Cry 5 is the most hotly anticipated action game in recent years. Diehards have been waiting 10 years, a decade, for a true sequel to Devil May Cry. Hope dwindling as each E3 and PlayStation experience passed them by without a whiff of Dante, Nero, or Virgil. And what kept most of us alive was the fact that Itsuno-san, director of Devil May Cry, Dragon's Dogma, and Rival Schools, was working on a big project that was kept quietly under wraps. Well, at E3 2018, Devil May Cry 5 was finally revealed, and for the very first time, we knew that Devil May Cry 5 was confirmed into existence, and with a stage outro by Itsuno-san himself. Being one of my most anticipated games of all time, I wanted to make this video to break down all of the elements of the trailer and the gameplay that we've seen thus far, while drawing comparisons to past Devil May Cry games where appropriate, and drawing logical conclusions based on what was shown. So, let's begin. And if you've caught something or I've missed something, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments below. So let's get the obvious out of the way. Devil May Cry 5 takes place several years after the events of Devil May Cry 4. Nero has started up his own devil-busting company, and to support his entrepreneurial spirit, Dante has given him the Neon Devil May Cry sign. But all isn't well for the young startup, as a cloaked figure has crashed the party, ripped off his Devil Buster arm, and left him bleeding and injured. Enter Nico, Nero's new partner in crime, who's outfitted him with a Devil Breaker arm to recreate some of the functionality of his Devil Buster, plus a whole heck of a lot more. Nico, as we've learned, is a self-proclaimed weapons artist, whose grandmother was the first-class gunslinger Nell Goldstein. Her father was apparently a mad scientist. We also know that at least some of the game takes place in Red Grave City, a callback to the old alias used by Dante, Tony Redgrave. Within Redgrave City, apparently a demonic tree has spawned. At the very least, confirmed returning characters include Nero, Kyrie, and Dante, and we know that there will be 3 playable characters throughout the course of the adventure. So that's what we know 100%. Now it's time for the analysis and breakdown of what we can pull from pieces of the trailer and gameplay. By now, everyone and their mother has seen close-ups and single-frame shots of the cloaked individual who rips off Nero's Devilbringer. The cuff, the gloves, and the veiny disposition points very clearly to the individual being Virgil, come to take back his Yamato from his son through less than hygienic means. The opening unnamed character states that he has known another character for a long time, though it's unclear who he's speaking to. He could be a completely new original character to the series, or he could be a reimagining of Enzo. Enzo is now commonly known as a character in the Bayonetta universe. However, he has his roots in Devil May Cry lore. Back with Kamiya at the helm, Enzo was an informant of Dante mentioned in the original Devil May Cry instruction manual. There was also some concept art of him, but he otherwise never made it into a game. It's really no more than speculation at this point, but there's a possibility that they simply changed him up for his in-game debut. Alternatively, he could be a Rodin equivalent from the Bayonetta series. The devil on the radio mentions heavens above, and there are no angels in the Devil May Cry universe, but rather most angelic depictions are in fact devils. There's a chance that this is a callback to Devil May Cry 4's Fortuna, where they had worshipped devils as gods and had a giant hard-on for angels. Dante shows up in a short teaser at the end in a rather suspicious-looking motorcycle. It bears a striking resemblance to Gilgamesh, a devil arm from Devil May Cry 4. So it's possible that the bike is a devil arm as well. It's certainly no secret among DMC diehards that this wouldn't be the first time that Dante uses a motorcycle as a weapon. In DMC3, Itsuno-san indicated that there were plans to make a motorcycle weapon in the game, but it was later scrapped due to limitations. Perhaps this is the realization of this past desire. It also appears as though there are some enemies from the DMC3 universe, and potentially the DMC2 universe making an appearance as well. How these will play into the story is yet to be seen, or if there's some specific explanation for their presence. Most of the enemies at this point, or the boss enemies, appear to have some sort of eyeball motif to them, their torsos generally covered in eyes. How this will play out is anyone's guess. It could really have no significance at all beyond looking cool and being aesthetic. Now let's take a closer look at the limited gameplay that we've seen thus far. Itsuno-san has promised us a responsive and powerful gameplay experience at 60 frames per second using the RE engine to their advantage. And here's a side-by-side comparison of the gameplay within the trailer and a subsequent interview with Itsuno-san, in addition to DMC4 combat. As you can see, they mirror each other quite well, from the basic Red Queen combos, to launchers, to aerial combos. Even some of the new Devil Breaker functions can be swapped for Dante's moves, such as Nightmare Beta from Devil May Cry 1, or Pandora's Grief form. There appears to be a bit more verticality on some of the moves, but otherwise the animations are nearly one-to-one aside from the new moves themselves. The Red Queen functions just as we would expect it to, allowing for max act revs. It also looks like demon walls, cutting off your escape and forcing fights, have made their return in Devil May Cry 5, if you look in the far distance in this scene right here. A few important things to note: Nero does appear to have a lock-on roll as shown here. The reason why this is so important is because Ninja Theory's game introduced a universal dodge button into their game. So Nero in Devil May Cry 5 either has this lock-on roll in addition to, or in lieu of, a universal dodge. Another important detail is the jump animation. This gameplay is the first time we've seen Nero's normal jump. You'll notice that he moves much farther laterally than in the similar jump of Devil May Cry 4, where it has sort of a somersault front flip. The jump and roll in the Devil May Cry series is critical because both have invincibility frames, and are the primary initial means of avoiding damaging attacks in the game. This is also why both are traditionally limited in how much ground they cover. Dodge rolls cover more lateral horizontal range, jumps have vertical but very little lateral range, and both are set distances. Enemy attacks in the series are balanced around this nuanced movement set. Devil May Cry 5 appears to do away with this by giving Nero more of a free-form jump, which should allow for less aggravating platforming and allow a more liberal means of avoiding attacks. Taking a look here, Nero appears to counter and breaker this charging boss. Devil May Cry is a series that is certainly no stranger to just-frame counter mechanics. Nero himself in Devil May Cry 4 was able to use his Buster during certain enemy attacks to counter and grab them. This looks to be a similar mechanic, though Nero in Devil May Cry 5 appears to open with a slash. It's unclear, but if so, this could be similar to a built-in Isin mechanic, a la the Onimusha series, which is also a Capcom property. Isin was essentially a powerful counterattack that occurred if you pressed the attack button within a certain limited frame window before getting struck. It's also possible that the slash visual effect is simply from the Devil Breaker itself. We'll just have to wait and see for more details. While Nero might continue to use the dual-barreled revolver Blue Rose as his primary firearm, the Devil Breaker now brings a new layer of functions to Nero's arsenal. We can see how in these clips it acts as a firearm with these ricochet laser beams, akin to the Nightmare Beta from Devil May Cry 1. It can also act as a juggling rocket punch, almost like Pandora's Grief form in Devil May Cry 4. Or how it creates a mini Quicksilver orb, a la Devil May Cry 3. Not only this, but Nero can carry multiple breakers with him at once. While he's riding and kick-flipping his rocket arm in this scene, he also has another breaker available on his belt. This could mean real-time breaker switching is a real thing for Nero, which would add an entire new dimension to him, since it would act as almost a fusion of style and weapon switching. It also looks like Nero can ride on his rocket arm like a skateboard, not so dissimilar from when Dante rides Lady's Rocket in DMC3, and while that particular move was never included in DMC3 other than the cutscene itself, I wouldn't be surprised if this scene with Nero isn't just for show, and is a gameplay mechanic as well. And lastly, there's this interesting new move that Nero performs here. It's difficult to tell if this is a new kind of charge shot kickback or a new aerial maneuver. We'll really just have to see how things shake out in the end. And that's mostly all the information that we have at this point. I want to close out the video with some parting words from Itsuno-san himself in a recent interview.
みんなが期待している以上のゲームになっていると自信を持って言えます。ぜひ期待してください。ゲームズコンで遊べます。よろしくお願いします。
Devil May Cry 5 is set to launch in spring of 2019, with hints that the game will be playable at Gamescom in August. I hope you're all as excited as CrackPebbles and I are for this game. Thank you for watching, and we'll be keeping a finger on the pulse.